Hi, everybody. It's episode 30 of Guest Safety Officer Lobby Group CIC. Yes, it's a mouthful, but we managed to get it out in the end. Here tonight, as ever, is my Oppo and new best buddy, Gary Twining-Wright, and the most marvellous Martin Murray, who is the owner or the owner of the longest running nightclub in the UK, some 30 years.
48 years.
48 years, my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so very briefly, Gary, tell us about you so we can get on to a decent person.
Cheers, Ian. Thanks for that fantastic intro. As ever, you always like to hype me up on that point. Anyway, I'm Gary Twining-Wright. I've been in the industry for 37 years doing all sorts of security. My current location is different today. As you can see, I'm got my blue background because I'm in Bristol, Ian. And the reason why I'm in Bristol, because I'm upskilling and doing my medical training with a great company called Code Red. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to James and Stephanie. We're still covered in blood from today's scenarios and bits and pieces because I've literally rushed back. But that's what I'm up to and that's who I am. Over to you, Ian.
I hope they're going to give me some money.
No.
For you promoting them, mate, to be honest. But let's move on now swiftly to Mr. Martin Murray himself. And by the way, peeps, Martin is a regular on various news channels to give his views on the nighttime economy. And one of his specials is the 24-hour economy, which is why he's here. Hello, Martin. Can you just give us a quick brief rundown?
Ian, Gary, yes, I've literally been in nightclubs my whole life. I was bottling up in the 70s. My father, who opened the club in 72. I was hosting events from 83. It's 1983, that is.
Yeah.
So I've literally done this my whole life. Nightclubs, I've gone through all the changes, the different scenarios of culture that we have gone through in those 5 decades. So I've seen the changes. And truthfully, the changes aren't that great. We are still humans. We have not evolved in that period. In essence, we still want the same. We still do the same. We still act the same.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, we're here today to talk about the recent, strangely enough, the recent changes to the ULEZ scheme, the expansion of it, and its impact, and the impact that may also occur as a result of the clean air zones, CAZs, that are also taking place and spreading around the country. And what impact they may have on the nighttime economy, and in particular, the 24-hour economy, which is something which is absolutely vital for UK PLC going forward, and by default, therefore, is absolutely vital for those of us that work in the guest safety officer security world, because this is how we make our living. So I just want to start off, Martin, have you any views in particular on this?
I've been campaigning against ULEZ CAS for about 3-4 years now. I initially stated the impact and the adverse disadvantage it gives to those that work in the nighttime economy. Going back 3 years, at the end of during lockdown, I had a meeting in the combined authority of Birmingham, where we have a CAS, £8 per day to enter. And like all these ULEZ schemes, of which there are 15 in the country, at some differing levels, they all start and stop at midnight. Meaning if you come in at 11:59 and leave at 1 minute past midnight, you pay twice. So everybody who works at night, past that midnight hour, pays double for the same hours as those who are there for 11 hours, 59 minutes in the daytime. And this is the one of the biggest unfair disadvantages it gives to the nighttime economy. But in this meeting of about 15 people of the combined West Midlands Combined Authority, not one of the staff knew that was the case. Not one of the staff understood how that would affect the nighttime economy workers. And what astounded me even more, that they only thought the nighttime economy was that of hospitality, and at that hour, late night venues, nightclubs. They did not realise that the largest employer of nighttime economy is healthcare.
Yeah.
So the healthcare sector is by far the largest. It is just shy of 50% of the workforce is in the healthcare sector that work at night. Office staff and those working in office staff is second, by the way. That's the cleaners, those that work in offices, the maintenance, the whole collective workforce within office blocks is second. Hospitality is third. Yet they always forget everybody else that works the nighttime economy.
Well, you think about it now, Gary. I'm not sure if you can back me up on the figures here, but I think that somewhere in the region of there were approximately about 80,000 active door supervisors, as they're called by the SAA. We obviously refer to them as GSOs, guest safety officers. That means there's 80,000 people that we know of that are being directly impacted by these clean air zones, these ULEZs, where they're having to travel in. There was one piece I read where a DJ who was traveling in from Brighton to London was now having to reconsider whether or not he continued working.
Well, just to interrupt you there, Ian, I'm just working some figures out. So if that's 80,000 guys in London, say London, 80,000 officers, and they've got to pay £12.50, which works out about £24 to come in, because they've got to pay before and they've got to pay in the morning, isn't it? So they're getting hit twice, allegedly.
Yeah,
that's going to be something like £1 million a day they are making from that, from 80,000 people.
it's a lot of money. I wouldn't mind it. Would you, Martin?
Well, we know what they say about thieves and politicians.
No, not have it that politicians are thieves. They are all well-meaning individuals doing their best for the good of the working man and the country.
To me, yes. That's a lot. You say that, but let's look at that figure.
With a straight face.
That's £1 million per night. So on a busy night, say Thursday through till Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days, isn't it? That's £4 million they've made.
I think I'm not sure. When I said 80,000, I did actually mean that there's about 80,000 in the entire country, not London. So my apologies, Gary, if a thing there, but there is a significant piece of that work those people will be in London, because most of because they provide, they have the most nightlife. It's as simple as that. But Martin, let's go back to this now. So as a former nightclub owner, how does this impact on would it impact on your business in hospitality?
The impact on staffing. Now, many of the staff you have, sort of bar staff, glass collectors. Funny enough, I would always have about 30% of my staff had been there over 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Some have been there with me for 20 years.
Oh my word!
Like bar staff, this is just bar staff. I always looked after the staff. Their safety of getting home late at night is always a major concern. They have to be secure and happy in their workplace. Now, I would have on a busy Saturday night 15 wet sales staff, shall we say. So that's the glass collectors, bar staff, and that. To get those all home at night, you can't pay taxis for them all. Some will share, some will drive, some will share get dropped off by others. Some even have their partners or parents pick them up. If you had the ULEZ zone, a CAS charge in that area, those parents, those partners would not be able to afford to come and pick them up. And that now goes into the customers. We all know how many times as a child, as a somebody going out, a young person going out to a parent, you get that 3-4 a.m. phone call. Dad, I can't get home. Can you come and get me? And they're a little drunk. There's friends giggling in the background. You put your clothes on, jump in the car, and off you go. Now, for most people, if you have to enter that zone, that's an extra £12.50 just to go and pick up your child. Do you know what most people are going to say of those estates that live there? You know I can't afford that. Make your own way home. Your drunken child now has to walk several miles to get outside of the ULEZ charged zone.
It's just crackers.
That is dangerous. That is the danger it impacts on those out at night. Put this across to those that are working, that haven't had a single drink. That's the stuff I just told you. My place, 15 a night. That's not the security. That's not the entertainment or the management. That's just the wet sales staff. That's for the bar staff, the glass collectors, bar and cellar work. Yes.
Yeah.
How do they get home at night if they can't afford to do that? £12.50. It's an hour's wage. Gone. If they bring their car, that's 2 hours' wages. Gone. If you only have 5 hours, it's 35% of their wages. Gone. Just on ULEZ. And you say, well, they can buy a new car. If they could afford a new car, they would not be having their second job working behind the bar 2 shifts a week. And the same for the security. Many security officers, if they're fully professional and that's their full-time job, they will have 3-4 positions where they work at. Yes, some are lucky they'll only have 2 where they'll work daytime, shop, business area. Nighttime, they'll have a regular at a bar, restaurant, club, hotel, wherever it may be. Either way, that's 2 locations. And so if they leave and come back, they go to a different area because you're not working just, for my sake, in Birmingham. Let's say in the middle and you now go to Oxford. Yes, so let's say you're in the middle of the M25 on the boundary. You have some work inside the M25 and you have some work in Oxford on the same day. You now pay 3 fees because it goes over 12, because it goes past midnight. You pay to enter your London daytime job. You then enter Oxford. You have to pay again. It goes past midnight. You pay a 3rd time.
It's
each area is separate. It's insanity. Put that to a nurse. And now say the same question to a politician, to a councillor, to an MP. It's a nurse, a trainee nurse. Yes. A trainee doctor, F1 doctor. Yes. So these are junior doctors. Right? Going in. They have to pay. They're doing their night shifts stint. Yes. They have to pay twice. There's no bus, there's no train to get them to work at 11 p.m. And there's certainly not one to get them back at 5-6 a.m. in the morning, depending on their shift pattern.
Martin,
they have to drive.
Martin, I was going to say, because one of the other things I think that you and I discussed, I don't know if you're aware of this, Gary, is they're looking at this 15-minute city, aren't they? Where essentially the city itself will be split up. This isn't just London, this is in other areas as well, will be split up into sections, and then you will potentially pay, I believe, to go into each separate section of the city. Is that right, Martin, or have I got that completely wrong?
No, the 15-minute city is its own community hub. It's been the concept's been around for some time now. It's part of the C100, 100 cities across the world. The 15-minute city or 20-minute neighbourhood is an area where everybody that lives in it gets everything they need within a 15 or 20-minute walk or cycle. All your shops, your businesses, your work, your entertainment, hospitality, every need, every desire that you require is within 15 minutes. That means you can cycle, you can walk. They always show pictures of gorgeous sunshine and children playing in lovely parks. There's another couple riding past on their bike. My fear and my absolute anguish and anger at the 15-minute city is who decides what entertainment is acceptable in that neighbourhood. Really does. Because then, what say you prefer house? You prefer more idiot? Let's say you prefer to go back old school to the old VAP, or even to the old new wave. You want to think you have to now go in someone else's area. Well, now you're travelling through 3 or 4 15-minute cities or different zones, different class or ULEZ fees to get there. You can end up being charged 3 times on a single journey just to go out, because your area deems what they accept as hospitality entertainment. Who are they to decide what we should dance to?
Well, regardless of whether that's I think the result of. I think the key thing that, and the point that I draw is all of these workers. These, and as you quite rightly point out, Mark, these aren't the richest people in the world, are they, Gary?
Well, the thing that gets me on this is, let's say you've got your 20-minute or 15-minute city, whatever it is, and say you got your club in there. So all these people in this area, they're going to work at that club. Yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, so all these people work at that club, and then all the people who go to that area want to go to that club. But as you say if they don't want to work in that club, and so all the security going to live there, or all the all the staff going to work there? Are all going to live there and work in that area? No, they're not. Let's see reality. That's not going to happen. And as Martin says, I don't want to go if I'm living, say, in the 15 minutes area of Stratford, but I want to go to Brent Cross because Brent Cross, they've got a great old school there. I'm into old school house. Great, that's what I want to be. So how many of these zones do I go through to get to there? And say if I'm working there, how many zones have I got there to work there? So if they're charging whatever, 10, 15, I mean, let's look at it. It's 12.50 in London at the moment. But if they're going to divide it up into sections, what's it going to be, £5 a time? You might be doing 5, 10, 15, 20, £25 to get there. Number two, that's £50 there. And if you're only on £10 an hour, there's no point me going because my money's gone, my wages are gone. Where's the logic on this? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, Gary, you're absolutely right. And I think it's not just where's have the punters' money? Where's the punters' money gone? Yeah, I always remember an old friend of mine who ran a venue for years and years and years. He always said to me, they've only got so much money in a week. There's only they don't get any more cash at the end, to top up with. Is they've only got a certain amount of money to come out with, and they're very choosy and picky about where they go, what they'll do, and how much they'll spend. And yes, it varies, but I don't know, Martin, was that your experience?
Oh, it always has been the case. I mean, people say the cost of living and people going out today, the kids can't afford it. Try going up in the mid-80s. 3.5 million unemployed. If you were lucky, he was on a YTS at £17.50 a week.
Yeah, that's
right.
That was what the majority of the 18 to 20-year-olds were earning, £17.50 a week. Yes, it was over £1 a pint then. So with the travelling, their food, their everything else, we still went out 3-4 nights a week. Still, yes. Yeah. You might have only had 1 pint, but you went out to meet friends and people. That travel experience would be removed with these zones. Your range of friendships and cultural interactions will be sectioned and restrained by these groups. If you live in one, people forget. They so easily forget. A lot of areas had this in the 80s. Birmingham, West Midlands, we had what was known as postcode wars. A lot of areas had similar things in Birmingham. This was nasty violence. Forget what you're seeing today. This was real nasty violence. None of it reported. There was no filming. To have a lump hammer across someone's knees, you'd know somebody every week. Every week. This was down to the area, the postcode you lived in. We had it in Manchester with Liverpool, Moss Side. We had several areas in London. I mean, your lovely Shepherd's Bush today, the police would not enter that area. I mean, they would not enter that area in the 80s. It was that bad. Yes. Are we really going to go back to that where we section people off by a postcode? You can't enter my 15-minute or my 20-minute neighbourhood. You belong over there.
Yeah, you're in my gang. This is my turf. Gary?
Yeah,
we're creating a ghetto, isn't it? It's a ghetto. We're creating a ghetto in the ghettos. But there's another thing on it. You know, we're going back to the nighttime economy on this point, which I was just thinking about. If you're creating a ghetto situation, and just say Martin's club was in one of these places. Now, Martin needs, say, I don't know, he's got a 2,000 capacity venue. He needs 20 staff on that. And he can't find the 20 staff within that area to open his venue. He can't find enough staff to run the venue because they don't live in his area, or there's not enough people in his ghetto, or sorry, 15-minute SETI to get there. So how's that going to play out? Because now, again, these people got to pay to come in. He's got to pay extra wages to pay for these people coming backwards. He's got to charge more money for these people to come in. And the people in the 15-minute areas, they'll pay more money to go to his club to cover the costs of all the costs he's got to pay out to bring external staff in. And on top of that, hang on, but on top of that, now you have got your ghetto war, because you got your 15-minute. Martin's club's in one of the best areas. So you've got the people from down the road want to go to Martin's club, but it's going to cost them to come in. But they're going to come in there because they want to go to Martin's club because it's great. So now, but they've got the people who go regularly to Martin's club. We're going to defend Martin's club because you can't come in here. We've got more aggravation and violence on the street. How about that? It's how it all starts.
Yeah, it's ghetto. I think Martin, it's the ghettoisation. ULEZ.
Ghetto's a bit strong. Ghetto's a bit strong. Yeah, I think ghettos are a tad strong, although some areas will again turn into ghettos because of this. Because some areas will not have the prosperity of business travelling through. Yes, so they will turn them into ghettos because of it, where other areas will do well and they will give themselves the nice pat to the back.
Sorry,
but it will section people off by postcode.
Yeah, I just want to clarify this because you're right, and I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying about the ghettoisation. Yeah, is because obviously it has different connotations for different people. But what I was trying to say is that you're creating tribal ghettos. In that sense, you're creating a segment of society in a certain place where it is going to get reinforced, the need to belong, to be part of a community or group within that section, ghetto, tribe, whatever, which already as it is.
Tribalism will ensue because of this. I mean, a big thing we keep missing with all these travelling areas, one of the biggest public gatherings that happens every week for most of the year. Football, and it is in the millions that go to their football matches every single week. They travel far and wide. They travel across countries. They travel continents to see their team.
Yeah,
not every week, some of them, but how do they travel through now? They have to pay the extra charge. Oh, I'm going through. Not everybody travels in on a coach. Not everybody travels in on the train. A lot do drive. They have the day out. Are you really going to price off? Remember what football is for. It's the working class sport. Yes, we have a lot of people say about the pricing out and everything else. This all comes down to the same thing as with these different zones, with these different ULEZ and CAS zones. Yes, it affects the working class the hardest. If it's about air quality, then why, if I have more money than you, can I drive anything I wish to?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with air quality, all to do with wealth and privilege. And that is meant in the truest sense, because I can afford it, you cannot.
And I think that brings us up because obviously I'm conscious of the time, relatively conscious of it anyway, is that how is this going to play out? You see, when I look at what's happened in London and you see the protests that that are occurring, and now looking from purely a nighttime economy perspective, let's just leave it at that. I'm not, you know, this ULEZ charge and the removal of the Daycard, which I think is the, you know, is the nail in the coffin, is potentially going to result in Sadiq Khan losing the mayoralty of London. And then what happens to the nighttime economy? Because like it or not, Khan has done some good stuff
Yes,
in the nighttime economy for London. What happens then when Susan Hall or someone else takes over? What do you think, Martin?
so London was the first, actually one of the first in the world to have a nighttime czar. Aidan LeMay has taken a role to a new level for our capital, which is an intrinsic part of the mayor's team, and is rightly wrongly totally affiliated to Sadiq Khan. And again, rightly wrongly, that's not the point. But over an issue as toxic as ULEZ, and I call it the toll wars, the same as the poll tax wars, it is that divisive. It will be that bad, I fear. Unless they listen, it could end up as bad as the poll tax. Yes?
Yeah.
If Sadiq Khan believes in disarray, which at the moment, if there was an election, would be the case, just because of one policy, her role is untenable. She would have to leave because no one else wouldn't be able to work with, because her affiliation to Khan in itself would make her role untenable and people to work with, or she may not even want to work with a different coloured party. Part of her team would probably leave with her, yes, or find it hard to work under a new person. All that good, all that history has now just been destroyed because of pure affiliation. You've now basically starting near enough from scratch again. Yeah? And the other problem with being affiliated is, we'll talk of London, Greater London area in its purity, the M25 Ring Road. There are so many different councils, boroughs that have different political affiliations. If you are purely affiliated, the role as important as nighttime economy, that affects more than just, that affects every sector. Yes? When you do work, when you do policy change, when you do actions to help them all, if you are affiliated to a party and political war starters we have right now, the other councils will not join in, or you may not include them because they are of another political affiliation. You literally cause tension, and there will be favour and there will be fear between those two. And that is the problem of being strongly politically associated. Well, it's not, we're talking nighttime economy. This could be the same for any large sector, would be the same problem, but more so in nighttime economy because it is cultural.
Yeah.
With the hospitality sector, different areas have total different cultural night times. I mean, totally different. You'll go to area by area and it will change. Yes. So you need that openness of apolitical ability to interact, to help and work alongside any council, any constituency, regardless of their political leanings.
Do you see this as solely solely confined to London, or do you see it having potential implications, ramifications for any other of our, you know, nighttime mayors in West Midlands, Sasha Lord, Carly Heath, etc., and anyone else who's operating in that role, if they are perceived to be affiliated to a political party? and CAS is in play?
Well, again, this is where the problem comes. You get affiliation is a very loose word. If you are an active member publicising and pushing all policies for a party, then yes. Yeah, and that works if you're at centralised governments, full local, county level, or male devolved power systems areas. So Birmingham's interesting because Birmingham has a Conservative mayor under the devolved power with Andy Street, who has actually done brilliant work. Not everything, but most of it's been brilliant work. So we can't knock him for that or his department. But the Birmingham City Council has always, 90% of the time, been Labour. It has hit some major problems in recent years, gone under special measures. It's helped itself out of those and is doing some good work again. But the two will not speak. And if one takes a role from the Birmingham Council and another takes a role from the combined authority, never the twain shall meet, and the leading heads for whichever sector it may be now do not speak or do not share the information. Do not give those fundings, those programs, those incentives to help their sector. I'm choosing my words carefully for good reason. So I'm keeping very open, but they will not, because one is affiliated to one colour party and the other is affiliated to another. And that is the danger of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Gary, what's your view?
It's, my view is, at the end of the day, it's what is the real agenda? Is it about make money? Is that what the real agenda is? Because Myers just said people aren't speaking to each other, but who's making the money? Is it making money to bring money back to the government? Is it to tie people all down? I don't really know. All I know is, the nighttime economy is going to get hit hard. All sections regarding money, isn't it? We're going to be hit every angle. We're going to be paying double. Nurses, doctors, everything is going to be paying double for something which we don't need to know. I don't know the politics. I can't say that. It's Martin's area. Martin knows far more than me. But what's it all about? What is it really all about? That's the biggest question. Why have we got to be put in these situations? Why have we got to have 20-minute sittings? Why have we got to pay double pay to move around at night? What is the real reason behind it?
I think from my perspective is that I get the importance of trying to take care of the environment. Those people that believe, and it is a belief about climate change, etc., is fundamental, sincerely held, and it's vital that we try and do as much as we can to bring everyone along. But for me, it's a cost of living crisis. People are being told that they've got to choose between heating and eating. It can't be between heating, eating, and working, because if you can't do any of those things, we're in a very difficult place. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to go. I've got my concerns, but my biggest worry is for ULEZ, and we'll let Martin have the last word, I think, on this, and the CAS zones in particular. At this moment in time, is they're hitting the poorest segment of our society. We're hitting the most necessary part of our society in terms of healthcare, police, security, guest safety officers, the people responsible for keeping civilized spaces. So they're not gonna be happy about this, and I think you're going to struggle to make your case as a politician of any colour, on this. But Martin, you've maybe got
some figures. The the LEZ, low emission zone, every area seems to have their own acronym for which to try and separate it. It's not the same. It's the same. It's all ULEZ. So the LEZ in Glasgow, in just a few months, has already caused an overall drop of 30% footfall to the hospitality sector at night. Already, that's Scottish hospitality figures in the last week. 30% drop. The problem you have is when a whole nighttime economy drops, it's a vicious circle. You have less people on the streets, you have less security, less active workers at nighttime. The nights, the streets become darker, they become quieter, it now becomes more dangerous. And if you have a less charge, people now have to walk through those streets where there is no activity, there is no police because there's nobody there. Well, we don't need a police car to patrol that area. There's no one open. But as we say, all those other night workers are healthcare professionals that visit people at 1 a.m., 3 a.m. They're working past midnight.
Yeah.
Who's going to protect them? If you lose the business, you lose the footfall, you lose the funding, you lose the policing, you lose the safety. And that's what it will do in the end. And because they can't work, they can't afford their newer car. They are now stuck with the older car. It means they have to carry on paying the ULEZ. There is no public transport at night. It has been reduced even further because there are no businesses to supply it. Which means they still have to use their car and carry on paying double, which any other person working in the daytime has to. It is incredibly insulting to all people who work at night that this is the case. And that's the anger that's hitting the streets of London now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that sort of basically brings us to a close, I think. Final thoughts? Any final thoughts, Gary?
I just think Martin's hit the nail on the head there. Without, with this in play, it's going to destroy jobs. It's going to create unsafe spaces, and everything we strive to achieve will be just wiped out.
Martin, last thought?
Yeah, at night time is as important as our daytime. Our ability to travel is our freedom. It is the most essence of freedom to travel, to use the Queen's Highway, as it was called, the King's Highway today. But I still use the Queen's because then it was free. And the right to travel existed. We still have that right to travel. We fought civil war over the right to travel, over the different areas of England.
I think
our right to travel on our highway is the essence of freedom.
I think being able to freedom of movement certainly is the essence of freedom. Certainly, my idea of it. But the thing that sort of comes through strongly today for me is the impact that this will have, as I said, on the poorest in our society. And the other factor that's really struck through is public safety. The threat that this poses to public safety, to the whole of the UK. And I suppose finally, when we're looking at it, the threat it poses to the UK economy as it restricts businesses and thus reduces taxes that are actually available from other sources other than ULEZ. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Martin. Yeah, and and you, Gary. We're glad you were here as well. Yeah, but it's time to say peace out. Peace out, people. See you later.
Yes, thank you both.
Take care.